Welcome, guys. On today's training, I want you to pay attention and watch this closely. And this is 5 ways to self-defense on for knife, right? So you can use these 5 techniques to defend knife if you at all your opponent want to stab you, right? So right now, what I just choose is like this, but you don't let your opponent notice that you are a martial artist. So that won't give your opponent chance to re-strategize himself, right? So now your opponent want to pierce you like this. So you just go like this. So watch what I just choose, right? So you just take note of that. So you give your opponent this quick and surprise attack to free that hand knife from your opponent. So no matter how powerful or how forceful your opponent just want to stab you like that, you will be able to free that knife from your opponent. So let me do it slowly. So you go like this. So this hand is right here. So and once you attack this vein, right? So your opponent is going to leave or lose whatever he holds so against you. So if you apply on this vein, right? So meanwhile you use this place to apply on this vein, right? So you go like this. So and that is going to force your opponent to drop that thing. So just but you have to apply that with full force, with full power, right? So if you want to go with that, so you just go like this. So and meanwhile, if you are perfect with this, you can easily go even step out of your opponent's setup. So in case your opponent just your opponent is too fast, is too faster than you, right? So once you step out of your opponent's center, so if at all that knife slip away right here, so that knife will not hit you, will not pierce you like that. So just go like that. So just go like this. So and that's going to let that knife fall out of your opponent's hand. So that is first technique you can use for knife, right? So let's keep on going. And if you have not yet subscribed or follow me, hit the subscribe button and follow and click the follow button if you are watching me from Facebook, right? So let us keep on going. So welcome. This is another technique, and this is second technique that you can use for self-defense against knife, right? So in Wing Chun, we call something double gunshot like this. So with this double gunshot, you can do many things, right? So with that, you just use this to stop your opponent's hand right here. So you now control your opponent hand to this side right here. So now go up right here. So now create a lock on your opponent right here, so that you'll be able to free that knife from your opponent's hand. But meanwhile, you have to do that in fast move. Let me do it from this side so that you can see it properly. So just go like this. So you just use this to stop your opponent's hand. You control your opponent's hand to this side right now. You now give your opponent hand lock right here. So you now free that knife from your opponent's hand. So that is that about that. But you have to do that in fast move, right? So just go with this. So just go like that. So go. You just go like that. So that is how that really look like. So you just control your opponent's hand like this, and you free that knife from your opponent's hand. So that is that about that. Welcome. This is third technique that you can use against your opponent on self-defense. If your opponent want to stab you, right? So what I just use is like this. So just go like this, and you control your opponent's hand outside right here. So you enter your opponent with elbow right here, and that is going to distract your opponent right here. So your opponent won't think straight. So you now hold this hand right here. So you create a lock like this. So and your opponent is going to free that knife, right? But you have to do that in fast move, so that your opponent won't be struggling the knife from your hand, right? You have to do that in fast move, right? So you just go like this. So just go with that. So that is that about that. Let me do it from this side so that you can see it clearly. So just go here, control your opponent's hand to this side right here. Meanwhile, you have already hold your opponent's hand right here. Use elbow strike on your opponent's head right here. And once you use this is going to distract your opponent. Your opponent won't think straight, right? So you now go for this knife. So you now create a lock on your opponent's hand like this. So and your opponent will not get any alternative or any option than to release that knife for you. So that is that about that. So but another thing you can do on that is that if your opponent is proving stubborn, so you can go like this. So go here. So when your opponent is proving stubborn, hold the knife firmly like this, and you are not able to free that knife from him. So now go here. So that is that about that. So you just go like this. So you go with this, hold the knife, and your opponent is struggling, so you don't want you to get rid of that knife. So you now use this and you release you get free of that. So that is that, and you free the knife from the sand. So, and you are going to be in charge of that knife. So that is that about that. So if you have not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button and follow me for more tips like this. And if you have any question, drop it at the comment section. So let us keep on going. Welcome. This is another effective technique, and this is the fourth technique that you can use to free yourself, to get free of your opponent that your opponent that want to stab you like that. So your opponent just moving to give you close attack in stabbing you like that. So, but meanwhile, you don't want that to get effect on you, right? So you just quickly control your opponent hand to this side. So once you control your opponent, so you just go with this. So that will not give your opponent chance to re-strategize or to reuse that technique like that. So just go with that. So you now hold this knife like that and free that knife from your opponent. Meanwhile, the attack that you use on your opponent leg is going to even let your opponent lose conscious, and that knife is going to be your opponent. That knife is going to stand like if that knife want to fall down, because you have already distracted him with that kick, right? Let me do it from this side so that you can see it clearly. So you just go like this. So control that hand like this. So control that. So now go with this. So that's that. So your opponent is going to go down. So meanwhile, my student just use this word to guide himself, as we use it from this angle, right? So you just go with that. So just control this hand like this. So and make sure you a little bit step sideways like this. So you control your opponent hand to this side, right? So in order not to let your opponent re-strategize himself, so now go here. So or you go here. So go to your opponent's kneecap right here, and your opponent is going to go down like that. So you just go like this. So now control this hand and free that knife from your opponent's hand. So that is that about that. So you can now do anything. You can use that knife to scare your opponent away, or you can easily kick your opponent to let your opponent stay down. So like this, just go like this. So now go here. So you can use here to hit your opponent face like this, and your opponent is going to go down. You're going to stay down like that. So that's that about that. So if you have any question, ask me at the comment section, and I'll be ready to answer your question. And if you want to join my personal online training, which I'm going to be teaching you everything step by step, hit me up at the comment section, and I'll be ready to tell you how you can join my personal online training. So let's move into the last technique that you can use for knife defense, right? Welcome. So this is the last technique. Sorry, this is the last technique that you can use to defeat your opponent if your opponent want to stab you in same situation, same method, right? So your opponent want to stab you like this. So you just make sure you guide. So and you move in to your opponent like this. So once you move into your opponent right here, so you now control your opponent by holding your opponent's hand right here, and you push this to create that lock on your opponent elbow, right? So once you succeed in creating that lock on your opponent elbow, you can now go for your opponent kneecap strike. So and your opponent is going to go down like that. So with that, you can now go for the knife like this. So you now turn it like this, and you free that. You get free of that attack, right? So it's quite simple and very effective, but you have to watch how I use that correctly so that you'll be able to use it. So just go like this. So you don't need to scare, you don't need to be afraid. So just go like this. So go here. So you can use it even with that single lock also. With that lock only. So your opponent can easily go down, because your opponent will be finding way to use that lock on his joint, on his hand right here. Your opponent won't allow you to break his hand, right? So your opponent is going to be looking for the right place to stand to use that lock, right? And with that, your opponent will be going down. So you get in full control of your opponent hand and your opponent structure. So with that, you just go with this. So your opponent is proving stubborn, you now support it with this kick. So your opponent is going to go down right here. So once you do that, you now go with this, go here. So you grab that knife right here. So you now turn it like this. So and you'll be able to free that hand, right? You will be able to free that knife from your opponent's hand. So meanwhile, you have to watch the edge of your of the knife so that you won't get caught. So that's that about that. I hope you can see that clearly, how you can understand it right. And if you have any question, drop it at the comment section, and I'll be ready to tell you how you can join my personal line training, and I'm going to answer your question also. So if you want to join my personal line training, like I said, hit me up at the comment section, and I'll be ready to tell you how you can join my personal line training. Keep on liking, keep on subscribing, keep on sharing. Peace. I'm out.